Happiness through curiosity on the Ranveer Show. I would love to know your objective report card of the BJP in the last 10 years. You said that two decisions were bad economically speaking, demonetization and
As I said, the second the sharp I felt a country like India was not prepared for
Right.
like having a complete draconian lockdown because we don't have a welfare state or that kind of stuff to sort of do something of that kind. So I was generally against the sort of very strong reactions which we got to the pandemic, and I felt that those were the two decisions which I was very vocal against.
okay. What about the rest of the report card? Why don't we actually do this in a timeline specific manner maybe?
Okay.
So my question to you is right from 2014. What were your hopes and aspirations as an Indian, as an economist? And then where did those hopes and aspirations go?
So I think that my sort of slight disappointment in the first term was the fact that he did not bring in enough fresh things. And some of it had lost because of the politics, like things like land reform, but even things like labor reform and stuff. I didn't feel that all that happened in the first term that could have happened. And also things like privatization. We have so many companies which are still run by the government. The whole talk that the government should not be in business, to the extent that, it's not the business of government to be in business and stuff like that. I didn't feel that followed through enough in the first term. I still feel there was a sort of control mentality. We can't let go of our state assets. I have to control it. If I privatize the banks, who's going to give lending to some of the poorer people? It has to come through the system. So I felt that there was not enough economic reform that was done, particularly given the mandate and the things for fresh energy. So the first term, usually across the world, I find is that for economic performance, the best time, and I've done this study around the world, the best time for economic reform, which is of change, of new things that happen, is when a new government comes to power. In the first 18 months is when we typically see it, especially for countries already faced a crisis, because then the public is also backseat to do that. So I felt the first 18 months was too slow out of the gate, and a lot of the opportunities were missed in the first 18 months. And then I felt that demonetization was something which was just totally sort of unnecessary. So that's something which I felt I was very critical about in terms of when that happened and stuff. And so I felt the first term in terms of how it was done was, like, to me, somewhat disappointing in terms of that. The second term, ironically for me, has been better, which is very rarely the case, because the longer the government stay in power, the more complacent they get, the more entrenched they get. So I think that the second term, as I said, the two major things in the second term were, one, as I said, was that at least that even if they did the draconian lockdown, at least not going away and going crazy in terms of spending and putting India's financial and fiscal sort of outlook under great threat. At least that did not happen. And I think that because a lot of other governments did make that mistake, including in other emerging markets, other developing countries. So that was, I think, good. And the second thing, generally about trying to make India a bit more competitive, cutting corporate tax rates and doing that. I think that those were the two better things done in the second term in general. So a very strange thing. Normally, with most governments, you find that they do best in the first 18 months, and the longer they stay in power, the more complacent they get, the more entrenched they get. And by the second term, it becomes all fatigue and stuff. I saw, at least in that regard, a different pattern play out with this current government compared to anything I've seen, even in India and also internationally.
What went right in the second term on a very human level, according to you?
I think that maybe it was just sort of in terms of the fact that the growth rates really fell. Like by 2018, 19, the growth rate in India, had fallen quite a bit. So maybe there was a feeling that something needs to be done to spur growth now. And I said in the first term, there was too much anti-business talk, almost treating like all business people as crooks and stuff like that. I felt that sort of reduced. Now you have to understand that in India, I've always said it, that it's easy to call everyone a crook, but understand many people become crooks because the laws of the land and the regulations are such that to get anything done in this country, often you have to break the law or do something to circumvent the regulation to try and get anything done. So I think that policymakers sometimes need to understand that. Politicians need to understand that people don't just want to break laws and rules. Yeah, lots of people want to do that, but often they're doing it because of the fact that the rules and laws are so prohibitive that you can't do any business if you really follow it in the strictest sense in most industries. That's very different if you're a tech company based in Bangalore exporting and stuff. But I think that is some recognition which took place.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip from the Ranveer Show, we've uploaded a ton of other clips related to a ton of other topics. So explore the channel because there's something for everyone.